Or hopefully the rapture will just happen and then we won't have to worry about it.
Well, you know, it was supposed to happen during that last eclipse and it didn't happen.
Stop.
And
Everybody that was like, guys, it's gonna happen. I was like, also, is the eclipse seen around the whole world or is it just the US? Because we barely saw it in California. You can't be like, oh my gosh, the eclipse is happening in like fucking Minnesota. But then on the other end of the world, obviously they can't see that. Jesus is not just present in the United States, guys. You can't.
Men.
Like, we like to make it all about us for some reason. And I'm like,
I know, right?
The rapture isn't happening right now. Yeah, it's gonna just happen when you're probably on the shower. And then you're like, oh no.
Not now!
Hi, and welcome to Between Us. I'm Emma, and I'm here with Amy, my really cute mother that's dressed so cute today. Like, look at her if you're watching the video. If not, you should hop on and watch it because she looks so cute. I just want to bite her. Not really, but today we are talking about something a little bit more sad, but we'll bring some life to it, don't you worry. We're talking about aging parents, what to expect with that, death, inheritance, and we'll probably go on a few rabbit trails. So don't worry, it'll still be a fun episode because we like to make things a little bit more lighthearted. So yeah, we're just gonna dive right into it. So Mom, you were obviously the older one out of the two of us. And
Obviously.
I mean, we could be sisters right now. Like, you look so good. But
Gosh, literally I just put my hair up like with a
no,
clip.
it's so
That's
cute.
it.
That's okay. Don't give away your
Thanks.
secrets. No, you say
Oh
you're
gosh.
young. Yeah.
I'm so young. I'm only 20. How old are you? 20. I'm 27.
Mm-hmm. I believe it.
Okay, good. All right, good.
Yeah. Your parents, do you mind disclosing their age?
Yeah, my dad
If you know.
is
Wait, yeah, do you know their age?
my dad's 82 and I think my mom is 78.
Oh, wow. So they're like,
Yeah.
when did they have you? I know this is kind of off track already, but.
Well, my mom probably had me when she was 20, 22, 22,
22? Okay.
20, 22. And yeah, and then my dad was whatever he
Oh,
was.
wow. So
And then, yeah,
she was
yeah, in their
pretty young.
20s.
Yeah. Okay.
Yeah.
Okay.
Yep.
I know that you personally don't have the greatest relationship with your parents. So I feel like that adds a different level of just like complex feelings of how to feel when your parents are nearing, that age in their life where you got to be more concerned about them passing away, unfortunately. That's just the reality of it. Everybody lives, everyone dies,
Mm-hmm.
It's going to happen to
Mm-hmm.
everyone. I honestly am just curious, like, any feelings you have towards that, because whenever I think of you and Dad dying, you guys are so young still, but it makes me really sad. So, and I know maybe that's because I just have a great relationship with you two, but yeah, I know that you're obviously older, so you're closer to that moment.
Yeah, I think the relationship that I have with my parents, it's completely different. I mean, I won't go into details, but I think when the family broke up, gosh, was it 18 years ago? 16, 18 years ago? It was a long time ago.
Mm-hmm.
I think at that point I realized that, and I was told I was no longer part of the family by other family members. So at that point, I grieved. Like, I wailed, grieved. That was when, when you grow up with people that are raising you and, you have your siblings, and then you're told that you're no longer part of the family. Don't even bother going to the funeral. You wouldn't sit with the family if they had a funeral. You'd have to stand in the back of the church or wherever they, you know,
Mm-hmm.
when that was emailed to me, that's when I grieved the most, I think, because I realized that it was irrevocable.
Mm-hmm.
We had a gap in communication for a number of years, and then I allowed to open up the doors, especially as you guys were growing older. I didn't want what I went through to mar any relationship that you might have with the family members on my side now.
Yeah.
as soon as you guys became adults, that relationship is up to you. However you want to do it, however you want to, and I left that to you. I tried not to influence any of that.
Mm-hmm.
And I think I've done that with all three of you kids. But now that they're older and I am in communication with my parents and I know they're aging and they're in that end of life kind of stage. Same thing with your grandparents on your dad's side too,
Yeah.
right? So I want them to have peace in their passing.
Mm-hmm.
So I don't want to bring up details and discuss anything. So while the relationship won't be there, it's just there won't be any grand reunion or anything like that because I just feel like it would cause more pain and more stress to myself as well as maybe them because I don't think there's going to be a resolution to anything. I don't think there's ever going to be an apology and an admittance of anything. So I just want people to pass in peace. And however you experience that is, on your side is on to you. And I think we all want to do that. We don't want to have a painful death, whether it's physical pain or emotional pain.
Mm-hmm.
But yeah, so it's a very weird concept
Mm-hmm.
because you're like, when your parents get older, they obviously, if you're in your 80s or your late 70s, I mean, it could be any day. But I think because of myself, I grieved so hard for years that I did it already. Like I did the whole relationship was gone. And the relationship with my siblings was gone. There
Mm-hmm.
was just nothing left. The relationship with my family members, extended family members, as well as, church family, that was gone. Um and it was nothing I could have done. Like I didn't cause those people to walk away from me.
Mm-hmm.
So anyways, yeah, I was it's really hard. Like I'm
Uh-huh.
looking down because I'm trying to think
No, it almost
like
seems like you've already kind of grieved losing them. And
mhm
yeah, they're still alive, but you don't really talk to them that often. And like, I don't know, you kind of being shunned from your family and them not wanting to have anything to do with you or to anything to do with our family, dad and me and my brothers. Like, I think you already grieved that because you knew that nothing was ever going to be the same again. Not that it was even good to begin with, but the fact that they're just not even in our lives, period.
mhm
So I feel like you went through like part of the hard part of just kind of letting it go in a sense. But it is hard
mhm
because they are still alive and there is going to come a time where they won't be anymore. So that'll be, I feel like I don't want to speak for you, but you might not know how you're going to feel it till it happens. Which, I mean, that's probably true for every death
Yeah, I
that
think you're
people have
right
to
there. I
face.
don't know how I'm going to react because I mean, nobody knows how they're going to react when somebody passes away. Um I think the distance, the years distance and has caused that, but I think what I struggle with the most is that while they were alive and healthy, they did not make an effort. And now that they're not as healthy, the effort is, I don't know if it's, I don't know why. I don't know. You can have empathy and compassion for somebody, right? But I grieved the loss of a relationship. I grieved not being able to grow older with my siblings and my parents. It was painful what we went through. So for
Yeah.
me to I don't want to relive that and I don't want them to have to deal with that. And that's why I think, even myself, if there, ever was a world where I would go visit them, I think it would just bring up more grief and heartache. So I think
Mm-hmm.
distance and communication by phone is probably the best we can do.
So much time has passed, and they have never really apologized for anything that they've said or done to you or our family. And That just kind of explains everything, that if they haven't done it now, then they probably won't do it in the future, which sucks. And that's a whole nother thing with being okay when somebody dies and you not being able to have a resolution, because that's obviously that's what you want, but that doesn't happen for everyone. People die
Mm-mm.
suddenly, and maybe the last thing you said to them was not kind, but you have to remember, like, as much as that would suck, like, let's say you have like a fight with them and then, I don't know, they get in a car accident and they die, like, that could happen. But you
Hmm.
can't have that guilt on you because you didn't know that they were going to die. And obviously, just because you had a fight, that doesn't define your entire relationship with them.
Right, right. Yeah, I mean, we invited them. From my parents' point, I mean, this was difficult for me to do, but basically, they were talking about, traveling, and they were going to come head to the East Coast as well as to the West Coast and up to Canada. And they reached out to your brother who was living in North Carolina at the time and they said, "Hey, we'd like to come visit." But they never offered to come visit us. And we were just one state south. And so on a Facebook post, I said, "Hey, if you're going to be on the East Coast, why don't you head down? You could stay with us." And
Mm-hmm.
the response was a negative response. And it was a public negative. I had screenshot it because I was like, did they really say that, well, we'll have to see, that, and I'm like, I'm glad that, you reached out to your oldest grandson. That's great. But, here I opened the door and you didn't want to walk through. You were making an excuse.
What the?
And, yet you did this big post about how you were visiting family and friends. And I'm like,
You're forgetting one of your daughters in there. You're forgetting literally one of your
yeah,
children. Like, I don't understand. I mean, I obviously am not a parent, but how can you, like, that just doesn't make sense to me. I mean, that's been your whole life.
yeah. And you want to give your parents the benefit of the doubt, right? Because it's their first time parenting. Like it's their first time on, I read this meme. It's their first time on earth as well.
Yeah.
But that just like for me, I was like, wow, okay, so my not family. You
Right.
don't, you wasn't even an offer to say, "Hey, why don't you meet us halfway?"
Yeah.
Why don't you? There was none of that. It's like, well, we'd have to see blah 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 blah. And I'm like, wow, yet you were willing to go out of your way to visit a friend who wasn't even on your route. And you mentioned this in the post too. And I'm like, okay, I see that,
See how
so
much you
yeah,
care.
but
Yeah.
yeah.
Jesus.
So that was it, and for me to open up the door that way and then be exposed to another wound, that was really tough. But
Mm-hmm.
still, and I don't speak much about this to anybody. So bringing this up is like on a podcast is like, shit.
Hopefully they don't watch it, but if you do watch it, maybe you can learn something, Nana and Papa.
No, they call themselves, what do they call themselves?
Christians?
I forget. It's a southern. No, they call themselves
Only
something else.
laughing
I forget.
because never mind.
Mhm.
I'm a
So,
Christian, but they're a Christian.
yeah.
Side eye.
Anyways, now that they're aging, I just
Mm-hmm.
want them to have peace. And I want them to have peace with the people who they've included in their circle of family.
Yeah.
And I'm on the outside of that circle. And, I know, like, I'll say yesterday, they called the house and talked to your dad while I was at work rather than waiting for me to come home from work and talk to me.
So they knew that you were at work
Hmm.
and they didn't want to
They knew
wait.
I was at
Okay.
work.
Mm-hmm.
Yep.
That makes complete sense.
Yeah.
Yeah. That makes so much sense. Wow.
So it was like,
That must have been a little stab to the gut.
so obviously I'm always going to be the bad person in the family, and no matter what I say, no matter what I do, there's always going to be a negative view toward me. And I'm okay with that. And I don't want to hear anybody say, "Oh, well, that's your parents." Those are your parents. You have to honor them. And I'm like, I did.
They're your parents, so they should be the ones that are also reaching out to you and apologizing to you and
Mm-hmm.
be the bigger person if they're your parent. And they haven't
Mm-hmm.
done that. You can't be like, oh, you should respect your elders, you should respect your parents. Well, you've tried that and it hasn't gotten you anywhere. And at some point, you don't have to have a relationship with your parent if it's not something that's going to be good for you in your life.
Yeah. And I think for me, it was, the episode that happened, and for us to finally say, okay, this was the straw that broke the camel's back. I won't go into details about that, but at that point, it's not just me you're hurting. I have three little kids and a husband that is now affected by this very toxic relationship.
Yeah.
So we need to step away for a while. Yeah.
Yeah.
So now that they're aging and great topic. This is so heavy. I'm
This
sure
is
our
so
friends really want
fun.
to. I know. But I will say I'm going to say this, it's not a bad thing to honor from afar, I guess. And
Hmm.
honoring is such a weird word. It's not like I like put up a shrine and, throw flowers at a statue or something. I don't know what honoring means. But to me, it's like the way I honored my parents was I stepped away because I did not want to have any more fights. I did not want to have any more competition between the siblings. I did not want to feel less than anymore. And I did not want it to affect my family, my kids.
Yeah.
There were things that you guys went through that were tough on you, and especially your older brother, because he probably
He remembers it more.
remembers this
Hmm.
remembers this more than because he was older.
Hmm.
Um, so and he's even said this to me. So it's one of those things that's like, yeah, but I feel sad when anybody's sick. I feel sad, and I have empathy for that,
Hmm.
and I have compassion for people. I pray that they get better, but I also have my boundaries because at a certain point, I can't. For my own health, I don't want to step through that anymore.
Yeah.
And especially when there's no acknowledgement of any responsibility. And the one thing I will acknowledge is that yes, I pulled my family. I removed access by basically saying you took us away from the family structure. I was told I was no longer part of the family, so I'm going to honor that.
Yeah.
And
Move across the country and say bye.
you're much harsher than I am.
I think that's just because I've seen like what you've gone through and like heard how they mistreated you, and I can have empathy for someone, but at the same time, like, I don't know, when someone wrongs you so many times, I'm not going to be nice about it when I talk to them or talk about, or not, I'm going to be nice when I talk to them or if I ever do. But when I talk about them, it puts a sour taste in my mouth. And obviously I respect them, but someone that's hurt you so much, that doesn't make me want to be nice to them. I'm
Yeah.
sorry. And I'm try to be a nice person, but
Yeah, I think too, they won't acknowledge that. I mean, the one thing that my dad did apologize for was, to your dad, basically. I think we had talked about
mhm.
this before, apologizing that he told me nobody would ever marry me or love me because I was fat.
I love that that's the only time you know that he apologized for something and it wasn't to you. Like that just goes to show
Hmm.
how like not great of a person they are. Like
But I'll always be considered, like, even me talking about it in this kind of vagueness, I will be considered to be the bad person. They will all,
oh yeah.
anybody who's heard their story,
It's because they're good at twisting it around.
I will be the perpetrator of any.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Oh,
But you
for
know what?
sure.
I'll say this. I have forgiven them even though they've never apologized because I've had to do that to let go.
Mhm.
Forgiving does not mean forgetting, which means I can still talk about the pain. I can still talk about the experience. I can still talk about the hurt, but I've forgiven them. So if they need absolution, you've got it already. It's fine. If you If you don't want to apologize for it, that is fine. You're absolved of everything from me, but it doesn't mean I've forgotten, and it doesn't mean I don't get to talk about the
Your
hurt that I
side.
went through.
Yeah.
Hmm.
And that's honestly the hardest thing, though, is to forgive them without them even apologizing. But sometimes it's necessary to help you move on. You have to,
Hmm.
you can't just like hold a grudge for the rest of your life. You have to like let go. But like you said, that doesn't mean you can't still be upset about it and talk about it. But
Right, because that's ultimately, who I turned out to be. I became stronger. I became ultra protective of my family in the sense that, you know, I used to say our little family comes first.
hmm
Our little family of five, because you guys were little kids then, you know, um, you guys come first. And we have a core group of friends, our family does, that are still our friends. Mine was just here a couple weeks ago,
hmm
visiting, and she's been my friend since you were like 1.5 years old. So, and they were with us. They experienced this with us. The very next day they were at our doorstep. So they know what we went through.
hmm
Pastor of our church knows what we went through. I mean, anyways, but I will say what's really odd is the last conversation we
Oh,
had with my
yes.
this is a good one.
I wanted to talk about this with you.
With my dad was, just so you know, we're giving the house to your brother and we're giving this and that. And I'm like, why are you even telling me that you're not going to give me anything? Because I didn't expect you to give me anything. So are you just trying to rub it in?
hmm
Did you think that after all I went through that I didn't say this, but in the back of my head, this is what I'm thinking. Are you just trying to dig deep again? I'm like, I've never asked for anything from you. Never, ever, ever, ever. When my grandparents passed away, I got nothing. Nothing, zilch, nada on both sides. I know that my brothers and even my cousins got things. I got nothing. Nobody, I never inherited anything from anybody.
hmm
So now you're telling me I'm still going to not inherit? I mean, I kind of had that figured out probably 18 years ago.
Yeah.
Um,
But the fact that he just called you to say that, that is crazy to me. They're like, by the way, I'm giving this and this to your brother. I'm giving this to your other brother. And just so you know, and you're like, okay, and thank you. But also, I didn't expect it anyway. Like,
Thank you. Next.
way to just confirm what I've always thought about you.
Yeah, it's like, or you know what? It confirms what I thought they thought about me. Let's
Mm-hmm.
put it in those terms. It confirms what I thought
They
that they
thought
thought
about you.
about me.
Mm-hmm.
And even if they gave me something, I never expect it. I never asked for anything.
Yeah.
I've never expected anything. The only thing I ever wanted was an apology, and I never got that. Never. Um, I got people coming to me telling me that they were spreading all this stuff about me and your dad, but mainly me.
Yeah.
So I lost a lot of church, um, former church family friends, and ultimately family members, extended family members.
Mm-hmm.
So regardless, I thought that was like I was like, so even as you guys are getting older, you're basically telling me, oh, by the way, we still think zero of you.
Right.
Thanks. Appreciate that.
Like, what?
And I'm not saying this. I'm not saying this because I'm like, you need to change your mind again.
No.
No, it's none of that. It's none of that. I will tell you what I would have loved is an apology and a complete reconciliation. But instead, I got gaslighting. I got letters sent to my mother-in-law telling me that they need to help counsel us or whatever. And I
What?
got, oh, yeah, they wrote your grandparents on your dad's side. My mom did.
Huh? For what reason?
Oh,
Like when?
because
Like a really long time ago?
this was like probably a year after the event. And I had written my mother a letter trying to get an apology. She never gave me one, but she sent a copy of that letter your grandmother on your dad's side.
Wait, she sent a copy of the
Uh-huh.
letter you sent to her to what did
Mm-hmm.
she wait, what
I
did
think
she
she wanted
expect?
your grandma to give her advice on how to respond, and because your grandma said this to me. She told me all this. I knew this.
Yeah,
I'm like,
she liked you. So,
yeah,
yeah.
okay. Well, the moment what's odd is when this whole event happened, your grandparents came over. Um, they flew all the way from New York to where we lived and stayed with us. Actually, I think they stayed in a hotel, but they were there. Your grandfather, who was very rough, tough, retired New York City police officer, hugged me and
Oh my
like pretty much
gosh.
became, and you know how grandpa
Oh,
is.
yeah.
You know how grandpa, he's very, yeah, hugged me and literally, just stepped right into that father role. Stepped into it. And I was like,
Oh,
okay,
that
yeah.
is a
It was just
reassuring. Yeah.
yeah, it's so tough to think about because this is where I think it bothers me because you want to be I don't know how I'd feel if I was in the relationship I had with my mom and dad and I was passing away or I was getting older and you next few years or whatever,
Mm-hmm.
it's the end of and you felt I put you through what I went through. I don't know how I would feel. I mean, I know what I would do just from my experience, but
Yeah. But wouldn't you want to resolve stuff with your children before you pass away? Like, isn't that something
mhm.
also just for a peace of mind? And also, they're uber religious now, and we're Christians too. And I'm like,
Mhm.
from that perspective, when you die, you are going to be faced with God and basically judged for all your wrongdoings. Like, you wouldn't, the fact that your daughter was neglected by you, you're going to be okay with not resolving that before you die, before you go and see God. And that just doesn't make sense to me. If you're so religious, I feel like you would want to like resolve stuff between your family before you die. Like,
And that's why I still took their phone calls because I was
yeah.
hoping there would be a point where they'd say, "You know what? So many years have passed and we realized that yes, we did wrong." And the reason I know that they did wrong and it's not just in my mind
Hmm.
is because another party in that action apologized to me.
Yeah.
And they knew. They said what we did was wrong. What we did was hurtful. And it was when she apologized, and she apologized like within three years or so. I still, we don't see them or talk to them, but the fact that she apologized and I did get nothing
Hmm.
from my parents,
That speaks a
that's
lot.
how I know. That speaks volumes.
Yep.
And it's tough because, I'm trying to just make sense of it all.
Hmm.
But, that's why I'm like, I don't want to bring it up to them because I don't want to cause any more anger because what I went through with the email that I got basically telling me that I'm not part of the family, and don't even bother going to any funerals. And that was probably what, 3 or 4 years after the event.
That's such a weird thing to say. Don't bother coming to any of the funerals.
Yeah.
Huh?
Oh, it was the weirdest thing. But that's good. That person's gonna inherit a bunch of stuff. So at least that's what I heard from my dad.
I don't know
Um,
what stuff they're inheriting, but go off. You don't need stuff.
yeah.
You have good relationships with me, with dad's side of the family.
Yeah.
You have close friends
Yeah.
and family that love you.
I do.
And I honestly think, like,
Yeah.
even though I know you are related to your parents and your siblings and stuff, at some point you do choose who your family is. Like, you choose who you want to spend your time with and who you want to grow
Mhm.
old with, whether that's
Yeah.
staying connected to your kids or to your parents if they're still nice, or to your
Mhm.
friends. Like, they become your family in a sense. So,
Yeah.
you don't need your parents. Just saying.
You know.
But it would be nice,
But
I'm
I'm
sure.
sure there's people gonna be yeah, oh, you're gonna miss your mom or your dad when they're gone. And I'm like, they left already. Like
They left your
I've
life already.
grieved. Yeah. And I I still open the door waiting for something. Anyways, so yeah, you won't be getting anything either, I'm
That's
pretty sure.
okay.
So just, I know you're going to be heartbroken over that.
So heartbroken. I also just don't really talk to them.
No, no.
Oopsie.
They didn't ask about you apparently the last time they talked, but
That's
that's
okay.
okay.
They don't need to.
You know, they, yeah. So, anyways, we're like, this is the rabbit trail. Thank you for joining us on our journey. Um,
No, that's hard.
it is hard. It is hard. And, it's not like, I mean, I don't dwell on this every day,
No,
but
no,
there's
no.
always like something that comes up and, it's, yeah. Anyways, so talking about inheritance, ah, what do you do with all your crap when you die? Like, I know eventually I'm going to die, and
Mm-hmm.
I expect you all to hold the biggest frickin' party when I pass away. Um,
Do you think that would feel wrong? Or are we like, I know people are like, yeah, I want you to celebrate my life. That would be hard to do though when you're grieving at the same time that you passed.
so I think, okay, here's the thing. If I died in a car accident and you were not planning on any of that, it was like
It's a sudden death.
a sudden thing, that's where I could see heartache and grief, and you still want to, celebrate somebody's life. But this is so sudden you didn't have time to process it. I can get that.
Mm-hmm.
If I die of cancer and I know that I'm going to eventually die of cancer or whatever disease
Mm-hmm.
or of old age, I have time to prepare. We all have time to prepare in that journey.
Yeah.
I have time to make amends with people. I have time to have somebody sit by my bedside and talk through things or whatever. Like, I have that time, and that's what I would want to do. And then I want you to throw a kick-ass party for me.
Yeah.
I'm serious. Everybody has to drink Diet Coke and eat M&Ms. I'm not kidding you.
Wait, I love that. Okay, that has to be on the itinerary. That has to be on the list of
Yeah.
things we're doing for your funeral.
Yeah. I mean, I haven't had M&Ms for, gosh, except for the one packet I think you guys gave me one time when I was out visiting
Mm-hmm.
because I was really super stressed. I think that was the only time I've had M&Ms in like 5 or 6 years, and
That's
that's not a lie.
crazy.
I know, I know. Have I
Wow.
supplemented it with others? Actually, not really. Yeah,
Yeah.
I haven't like replaced one for the other. But yeah, if
Yeah.
I'm gonna pass away, like, okay, this is the worst case scenario, Emma. Okay, but if I get diagnosed with cancer, I expect you to live by my bedside till I die. Okay,
Mm-hmm.
like literally have a twin bed. And Matthew and Steven,
Mm-hmm.
I expect you guys to like, still be part of my life.
Oh, absolutely.
So that we can grieve then. We can say, "Oh, I'm gonna miss you, blah, 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 blah," and
Mm-hmm.
then, but then, laugh and all that fun stuff. And then celebrate the fact that, we got to spend that time together.
Yeah.
Same thing when I'm older. Like, I'm a Christian, and yeah, I'm a swearing Christian. I'm sorry. But I'm a sinner. Just so you know, I'm a
Mm-hmm.
sinner, and God loves sinners because he has redeemed us. You
Amen.
can be redeemed too. That's my message to you.
Mm-hmm.
All right, people. But I know that when I die, I'm going to be in heaven. I know that. I feel it from the core of
Mm-hmm.
my body. So let's celebrate that. Let's celebrate that. You can be sad to miss me because I am such a joy and a pleasure to be
You
around.
really are. You really are.
But yeah,
No, I agree. It's gonna suck for everyone on Earth that's like gonna be missing your presence, but you'll be the one that's like partying it up. I mean, have you heard of like those stories of people having like near death or death experiences and they have such an overwhelming calmness of peace when they die, and like there are people that have like started to see like this bright light, and like there's so many like, I don't know, just hints that like God is there, and that is what
hmm
happens after death, that it's kind of like, all right, people that don't believe, hop on the bandwagon, guys. But I'm like, there's so many people that get really depressed when they come back to life essentially because they felt such a calming presence when they were dying. And I feel like that's just the reality of it. Like everybody on earth is going to be miserable, but at least the person that's dead, if you know, if you're a Christian and they go to heaven, they're partying it up. They're having a great
yeah.
time.
And that's how I feel it's going to be. So
Yeah.
let's celebrate that.
Mhm.
Let's celebrate that there's joy in the passing. Like there's sorrow, of course,
Yeah.
and there's a time to cry and miss and all of that. But there is joy in the passing. There, like if you're a Christian and you're a believer, yeah, absolutely.
Mm-hmm.
Um, so please party hard and responsibly.
Try. We'll try. Hopefully that won't be for a very, very, very long time.
Yes, knock on
Or hopefully the
fake
rapture will
wood.
just happen and then we won't have to worry
Yeah.
about it.
Well, it's supposed to happen during that last eclipse and it didn't happen.
Stop.
And
Everybody
yeah,
that was like, guys, it's gonna happen. I was like, also, is the eclipse seen around the whole world or is it just the US? Because we barely saw it in California. You can't be like, oh my gosh, the eclipse is happening in like fucking Minnesota, but then on the other
no,
end of the
yeah,
world, obviously they can't see that. Jesus, Jesus is not just present in the United States, guys. You can't
amen.
like we like to make it all about us for some reason, and I'm like,
I know, right?
the rapture isn't happening right now. You would know. You would know if the eclipse.
Wouldn't they have seen the eclipse like in Europe, like during, oh, maybe not though, because the moon would have been in a different,
Yeah, it's
yeah.
at a different spot. We didn't really get to see it
Yeah.
anyway, like in California. Like
No.
maybe a little
I
bit,
got to see a
but
little bit of it.
yeah, I'm
I got to see a
like,
little bit of it, but it wasn't like, yeah.
come on.
People are weird. Like, if you read the Bible, no man knows the time or day. No man does. It's just going to happen. It could happen now or now.
No, but now that you're saying that, it's not going to happen.
I know. See,
Yeah, it's going to
see,
just
see,
happen
because no man
when
knows the time or
you're
day. It's
probably on
just
the
going to happen.
and then you're like, "Oh no."
Not now.
That is my actual I'm like, can Jesus like God just wait until nobody's using the bathroom, nobody's doing anything that could be very weird to be floating up in the...
Oh my goodness. I think the hardest thing for me though would be like if I was raptured, the people that were left behind.
Oh yeah. Cuz you have those friends that like aren't Christians and you're like,
Sorry.
"Hey, bye. They do have a period of time where it's going to be hell, but they can come to heaven then too."
That's true.
So,
Read the Left Behind series. That's scared straight, big
yeah.
time. Not the movies. Don't watch the movies. The movies are lame. Read the series, the actual books. Yeah.
Mhm.
Um, yeah, that was a big thing.
Yeah. And not that Jesus wants to like scare you into believing in him. That's not the
No,
people that do that, Christians that do that. I'm just like, guys, God would be so disappointed. If Jesus were on this earth right now, he'd be taking that sign away from you, taking that microphone away, the freaking megaphone that you are like yelling at people with, like, become a Christian or go to hell. No, that's not, no,
that's not the relationship with Christ.
no.
Yeah.
Get off your high horse.
Fun fact, in youth group, we had these scary movies that they would show, like movies, reel to reel movies, like, and they would be all like, the rapture and then what happens after the rapture. And yeah, I'll have to find some clips because they were like,
Stop. Were they trying to like scare you straight?
yeah, it's like Scared Straight, but for Christians.
Yeah.
I just checked the names of these movies just so
Oh, yes.
it's A Thief in the Night, and A Distant Thunder. And I think we might have done Image of the Beast, but I'm not quite sure. There were like a number of movies that we watched. And that was in this, they were filmed in like the 70s, but we watched them in the 80s. But yeah, they were crazy.
Interesting.
They were scary back then. Like, yeah,
I see that. It's
yeah.
all about them being like left behind. And
Mm-hmm.
then what
Mm-hmm.
happens, I guess, after that?
There was a beheading in one of them because
Jesus.
biblically, yeah. Come down. You just swore such.
Sorry. I mean, Jesus, you're great. We love Jesus.
Oh, yeah. So, that was what I grew up with. So, yeah, that was another rabbit trail. Let's
Yeah,
hop on
that's
back. Okay. So, what I was going to say too earlier was I think the hardest thing for me would be if a family member got Alzheimer's. And I know your grandma's kind of going through dementia right now. Sometimes she remembers me, sometimes she doesn't, and the
mm-hmm.
grandma on your dad's side. Um, And I know it was hard for your dad when his, I don't know, grandma Mima, Papa, what they called her, but
Mima.
she died when she was in her 60s and she had
That's so
Alzheimer's or dementia.
early.
I know, right? I'm like 55 and I'm like,
You're like,
yeah, I know I'm 27. I'm not 55.
yeah,
Sorry.
I'm 27.
27. And I'm also a bottom talker. Did you know that? I'm a bottom
Yes,
talker.
I actually noticed that. I
I
feel
don't want to be a bottom talker.
a lot of
I want
British
to be a
people, I
top.
feel like, are bottom talkers.
Our bottom talkers, we talk like this because we stick our nose out. But
I love that. That's so
yeah,
funny. Did you see that like trend on TikTok or something?
yeah,
Yeah.
I did. But I always knew I was a bottom talker.
Yeah.
I don't know why.
Am I
Probably
like
because
an
my
equal
jaw surgery.
talker? Or am I
Let me see.
uh,
Say your ABCs.
A, B, C, D, E, F, G, H?
Equal, equal, equal.
Yeah.
Like, does that feel weird to have your lips like?
No, but
Mm,
sorry, I freaking hate my gums that show. I have very
yeah, I
gummy
think my
smile.
teeth. You know the term you get long in your tooth, long in the tooth when you're older. I
Uh-huh.
feel like that's me.
Dude, I'm long in the tooth now. I might have to get another gum graft.
You think so?
Probably not, but maybe. I don't know. Some of them are long. They look anyway.
Yeah, so I think that would be the hardest because that's like the long goodbye, you know? At a certain point, you're going to grieve
Hmm.
because they won't remember you.
Yeah, anybody going through Alzheimer's, dementia. Yeah. But yeah, that's a good point. I feel like Alzheimer's, dementia, anything like that where they start to lose their memory, you're grieving like far before they pass away. And that's
Hmm.
just another level of, oh my gosh, I can't imagine. Anybody that's going through that is a warrior. That's going through like
Yeah.
seeing someone that's going through
I had
that.
a couple friends that went through that, and it was so tough on them,
Their parents
especially
having.
because they were very close to their mother. Yeah.
Oh
This was
no.
when I was doing theater, and one of the people I did a show with, her mom was battling through Alzheimer's,
Oh.
and she would go there every other day and, have dinner with her or just take care of her, bathe her, do some.
Aw.
So,
I'd do that for you, but you
um,
have a very good head on your shoulders, so I think you'll be fine.
I don't know. What is this? No.
Mom, it's me. It's me, your daughter, please.
No, there's a book I just read, something about Alice. Now I can't remember the book.
Stop. You're not helping your case. You're not helping my case, actually.
I know.
What is it about?
Alzheimer's.
Oh, okay.
She had early onset Alzheimer's.
Is it a nonfiction or fictional?
It's nonfiction. Still Alice. It's a movie, but the
Oh,
book is way better.
wait. I definitely have heard of that, actually.
Mm-hmm. Still Alice, and it's this woman is a brilliant. She's a brilliant woman, and she just got lost in the middle of her city, and then she started taking this test. She took a genetics test to discover that she had the gene that caused that. I think her parents had it, and then she encouraged her kids to test for it as well. And I think one of her children ended up testing positive for it,
Oh my
and so
gosh.
you're gonna get it. So you got to prepare for that, right?
Oh, yeah.
Yeah, it's just
Okay, you know that Kristen Stewart is in that movie? She's the daughter, I guess.
that's what I yeah, yeah.
That's anyway, sorry. And Julianne Moore,
Julia Moore plays Alice. Yeah,
Alec
Julianne Moore.
Baldwin. Oh my
Hmm.
gosh, there's so many. I'll have to watch that. I remember
Hmm.
seeing like a long time ago like the trailer for that movie. It looked good and sad.
I think the book is better. I think
Okay,
the book is better.
I'll have
But
to read
that's
it.
like the hardest thing is, we can see it in your grandma.
Yeah.
She thinks she lives with three men, instead of just your grandpa. And the grumpy one comes out or the mean one comes out at night.
Wait, that's
Um,
actually kind of hilarious though. It's sad, but it's
yeah. So it's yeah, and what's interesting is, I mean, I haven't seen her for a few years. I don't think since your wedding, because we moved, and then my job was just so crazy sauce. But your
Yeah,
dad's been up there quite a bit, and at least she remembers your dad, so that's good.
that's
She
good.
doesn't. I don't think she remembers me so much, but she knows who I am. But only because your dad talks about me all the time. So
Aww,
yeah, but she wouldn't talk to me because she didn't know who I was when it was just me. So, but
interesting.
that was hard because,
You
we
have
went
such a
through
good
this whole thing
relationship.
too.
Yeah.
Yeah. So that was really tough. But I knew something was up with your grandma because she is a solid Christian, and she would not only, memorize scripture, but she could call the verse and everything and just pull it up.
Wow.
If we're in the middle of a conversation, she'd say something and she'd remember the verse. And she started saying, there was this verse in the Bible, and it was something like blah 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 blah. Like she didn't remember it, and
Mm,
this was even before your wedding. I knew something was up. And I said something to your dad, and well, she hasn't been healthy and she hasn't been well. And I'm like,
something just
no,
fell off.
because
Yeah.
something felt really off.
Oh,
But she's, we talked to her today, and
oh, you
she
did?
was okay.
Okay.
Yeah. Well, but we can't talk very long because it kind of wears her a little bit.
Yeah.
So maybe 10 minutes, and that was it. So that would be the hardest thing, I think, for me is Alzheimer's
Yeah.
and that long goodbye.
Oh my gosh. And yeah, you're slowly, I
Yeah.
feel like, kind of going through it with her
Hmm.
now. It's, not
Yeah.
super intense, but yeah, it's kind of happening.
Yeah.
Oh,
But you know what? Going on, let's go back to the inheritance thing because I'm going to tell you what your dad and I have talked about for inheritance, and this is what I mean.
I was gonna say, when is a good time to
Regardless,
do like your will? When do you?
probably about 10 years ago, but we got to do it soon. Your uncle and aunt did it, and they were talking about stuff, so I'm like, oh, we really need to get on this. But I think for me, it's like for us when we pass away, we're just going to like divide everything up between the three kids.
Yeah.
That's it. There's no There's no, you get this, you get that. It's just going to be sell the house, divide it up three ways.
Yeah.
Sell our stuff, divide it up three ways. Whatever we have left, divide it up three ways. It's not picking and choosing, whatever.
Yeah. Because you
If
don't.
you want something, that's different. But
Yeah.
I think it's important just to divide it up.
Yeah.
Because, it doesn't matter the strength of your relationship. It's all about these are your kids. You brought them into the world. You're going to have closer relationships at some period in your life with some kids than others, and it's going to flux, right?
Yeah.
Depending on their needs and your needs and everything.
Yeah.
It doesn't make you less than, it doesn't make you more than. Um, so, for me, equity is a big thing.
Yeah. And you don't want to like try to like pick favorites based off of, yeah, your inheritance and stuff.
Oh,
That
yeah. No, I
doesn't
think
make
that's
sense.
horrible because that sets relationships for the family in the future on a rocky ground because it's like, well, why did mom and dad leave you this? I wanted this. Did they not
Right.
know I wanted this? And it's like, yeah,
No,
don't want it. You guys don't.
yeah, we know.
We'll
I
just
know.
we'll burn through our inheritance. We'll
That
burn
way
through
you
the
don't we don't have to
inheritance.
do it. Mine, I mean, it's your stuff. Might as well use it while you're alive. Might as well have fun while you're living.
Right, right. Heck
All
yeah.
right.
Heck yeah.
We should probably.
I think we should let them go. But you know what? Talking about death and dying and inheritance is not a bad thing. Keep conversations open with your parents and your
Oh,
kids.
yeah. No matter how hard it is, I feel like you have to
And
talk it through. And what?
yep, I was and what?
What,
No, and
mom?
I was also going to say, you know what? There's no shame in apologizing. None of us are perfect.
Mm-hmm.
And there's no shame in setting boundaries. I know that's tough for some people, but sometimes you got to do what you got to do to survive.
Mm-hmm.
And that's where we're at. That's all I got for you.
Hey, and
You
even
know you're
if it
loved.
takes you like 20 plus years to apologize, as long as you do it, it's all that
Hmm.
matters. And it's better to get that off your chest than keep it internalized
Hmm.
until you're in the ground or in a vase or you're a tree or a
Oh, we
firework.
didn't even talk about that. We got to talk about that
What
sometime.
you want to be when you die.
How do you want us to get rid of your body? I want to be a star in the sky. Hook me up with Elon Musk and
Oh
set me
my
in one of his
gosh.
rockets. Right?
That'd be
Could I
so
be part
fun.
of the atmosphere? I want to be a star.
Okay.
All right. Well, friends, it was great chatting. Um,
Yes, thank you for listening. to our fun topic.
Emma and I love that you join us. We have fun topics and sad topics, but this was a little bit difficult one, but hopefully you learned something.
Yeah. And if you didn't, sorry.
Other than me having pretty cool hair today, so yeah.
Yeah, you look cute.
All right.
Okay.
Thanks.
We'll see you in a
Love you.
week. Okay.
Bye, friends. Love
Bye.
you.